Rude interruption by Mike. Our next topic on the show is
I
immature
hate
men
you.
have dark tetrad traits. Let me say that again. Immature men have dark tetrad traits
Uh,
on
so
Tuesdays.
so the topic was Jordan Peterson talking to some psychiatrist. Can't
Jordan
remember.
Peterson has a hot daughter.
And so what I found the most fascinating it wasn't immature men, which I mean obviously they are immature, but it was men that have short-term dating strategies or stick to like short-term dating strategies all have dark tetrad traits. So narcissistic tendencies, psychopathy, um, Machiavellianism, and what's the last one?
CEO.
Psychopathy.
CEO
Yeah.
resume.
You're throwing out a lot of big words. Can you please explain
Yeah,
some of
all
these
of these
big
are like,
words, Chris?
these are the
What
people
is
running our country, is what you're saying?
what is
Well,
what
yeah.
is Tetris traits?
Tetris traits, the dark triad. That's what I said. So it's psychopathy, sociopathy, Machiavellianism, which is manipulation,
Hmm.
and narcissism, right? And when he first started talking about that, I really
Tetrad, I think, is 5
what
sides.
used to be called the dark triad, right? But now they've added narcissism to the
So it's
tetrad.
4.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a
Um,
tetrad. So it doesn't sound as good.
so what I found fascinating about this is like when I started looking at it introspectively. I mean, I definitely have had some narcissistic tendencies, and Machiavellianism is like my middle name, or at least it used to be for a long time.
I think he was a little
And so,
darker skinned than you.
well, yeah, he was Italian, so of course.
Yeah.
But no, it's fascinating to kind of think about that a little bit. How we have a tendency to seek short-term relationships when you kind of have these sort of traits, and some of them are definitely like traumatic or trauma induced. And I feel like, now that I'm 41 and I've sort of let go of most of my narcissistic tendencies, and I definitely try really hard not to be manipulative.
You hope.
Yeah, that I'm not really interested in short-term mating strategies anymore, right? I mean, it's not really something that I mean, I used to that was like the assumption, right? It was like you go out and, try to hook up, right? That was kind of like that was a Tuesday. Um, and I found it fascinating that there was a direct correlation with the conversation and my own like experience in my own life, and I wasn't sure how you guys felt about it, but yeah.
I'm not looking for a short-term relationship, and I have none of these should apply to me because I'm not immature. I'm a grown ass man. No, I
Way
agree
to,
with you.
way to self-diag.
No, I agree with you actually. I think like if you're looking for certain things, I definitely so men don't grow up until, and this is real, this is as real as it get, we don't grow up until we get older, because life, we have to go through life experiences to actually like look back and develop. And the problem with that is you are narcissistic, you are a manipulator at a certain point, you are extremely immature in so many different ways. It's The problem is, in order to grow, you have to look in the mirror and look at your actions and what you really want, and you have to change certain things about yourself. A lot of us don't do that, and we continue to keep those traits as we get older. We just fine tune them and develop them in different ways, or we realize it and we work on it into a certain perspective.
Or those traits lead us into success, and there's
Yeah,
no what do you call it, incentive to change.
yeah. I
True.
mean, I'm talking from the dating perspective, like those traits as a younger individual. I think professionally, some of those traits are phenomenal because you need them to be successful. It's just knowing when to be able to use those traits if they help you or hurt you, and it depends on what environments you use them in.
Well, I think true narcissism doesn't. I mean, it's
Right.
very difficult to have success over a long period of time. Short-term success, absolutely.
Well, they say almost 95% of CEOs or major company executives are all NPOs,
Narcissistic. Yeah.
narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. They all
Well,
have that.
I think my opinion on this, like, I think psychologically or whatever behaviorally, kind of goes to this thing where there's a quote that I saw that said, for every man to truly live, he must die. And I think this applies here. And so I think what happens, and this also correlates to men being sort of, a little bit more, more like men in their 40s. As I think that there, as a man, you grow up a boy, and what a boy means is that you're a man with feminine qualities. Okay. And I think some of these feminine qualities, could be interpreted as, good or bad, but obviously necessary for survival because you have to please your mother, right, in order to survive. And I think that if men, have a really good upbringing, they become very sort of like, how do you call it, nostalgic about some of these things. And, when you shed some of the things that don't work for you, as a man, you do sort of like become a lot more in touch with the person that you are, and definitely more mature. And I think that part of that dying process has to do with sort of like losing those boyhood attachments to some of these behaviors that will still produce outcomes for you, but may not necessarily be a reflection of your character.
Good point.
I'll talk about leadership. Mitch was in the chat. Oh, what up, Mitch Dodge? Shout out, Mitch Dodge. I don't know if he's still in the chat.
I just thought so.
I
The one point I wanted to make, I think, is that anybody that's sort of trying to figure themselves out, right? They get in their 30s or whatever, and they're trying to figure themselves out. If you're actively seeking short-term mating strategy as your like future
Donovan
objective,
in the chat said that he loves the topic short-term mating strategy.
yeah, I know, right? That might be a key indicator that you might have some stuff you need to work on. I mean, whatever it is, right? Obviously, if you're a psychopath, you're not gonna fucking really give a fuck. But yeah, just something to think about. If that's what you're if that's your objective, then there might be some stuff you need to work on.
Well, another thing too is I had like a homie come up to me sort of about a current relationship and a past relationship. And one of the things that we talked about was that I've learning myself that you sort of like attract the traits that you have, or that you reflect sort of those things. And so like if you're hooking up with people that have this dark tetrad in your partner, then there's a good chance that you probably suffer from the same qualities. And so like it's not necessarily like the victim mentality where like people are taking advantage of you. There's probably something there that's reflected. You're not catching it.